Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a while since I posted part one. Let me explain why. When I posted the first video, we got a lot of comments back from the YouTube creators about the content not being suitable for all viewers, which I kind of knew that ahead of time. So they basically wanted to make the video not viewable to certain people. And I think a lot of that is because of, the way that Sebastian came into this world. He was intubated right away and he's been, he was sick and we were there for a long time. All of these things happened that if you're a mother who's been through that, or if you're just someone that's randomly seeing it, it could make you feel a certain type of way. But the truth is, that's our reality. It's what we went through. I can't change that. I can't make it any more suitable than I already have tried to. So with that being said, moving forward for the next couple of videos in this series, I would like to preface the video by saying that a viewer discretion is advised. It could potentially be triggering to any mother who's had a baby in the NICU or a baby with congenital heart disease or any other type of diagnosis. There is a lot of things that we went through, and I'm going to try to make it as suitable as possible, but just to give everybody a heads up, I'm going to put a trigger warning out there. So moving on from that, I think we left off in the video when Sebastian was finally born. We finally met him, and I don't actually remember a whole lot about that day, obviously because I had a C-section, I had an epidural, and I was on some pain meds. I had a lot going on. So the first probably 24 to 36 hours were actually pretty blurry to me. So I brought Gio, Sebastian's dad, so he can kind of fill in some of those spaces, and I want you to kind of be able to know what was going through his mind, because you guys see all my posts and you know what's going through mine, so I thought it would be good to bring him. So when Sebastian was born, like I said, I did have a C-section. Natural birth was not an option. Sebastian was too small. He was not doing well enough to try to give birth to him naturally. So when they took him out, I was laying down. Gio was right above me, obviously, and they had the big blue sheet up. I couldn't see anything. Felt a little bit of pressure, that's about it. And then I remember hearing the surgeon saying, "He's here. He's breathing. He has a lot of hair." And I was like, really? Because everyone always says if your baby's gonna have a lot of hair, you usually have a lot of heartburn. And I didn't have any heartburn. So I didn't really know what to expect. And obviously it was our first baby, so I didn't know, I just didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to see him. I was ready to see him. And I could feel them probably sewing me up and stuff, and I could see Gio taking pictures and stuff, and I just wanted to see him so bad. And the first thing that I saw when I was able to finally kind of look over and peek over was the video, or the picture that I had posted at the end of the last video, was Sebastian getting intubated. So looking back on those very first moments, I'm not really sad. I wasn't sad. I kind of felt indifferent. I knew that he was being intubated and he was going to get rushed away, but it was so cool to finally just see his face. That's how I felt.
Everything happened, in my opinion,
quickly.
Within a matter of, it felt 30 seconds. I went from getting scrubbed up to them taking Steph back to them putting me in a room for what felt like 20 seconds. And then,
all right, let's go.
The surgeon was like, all right, come on, follow me. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're not gonna give me instructions? Because me, I'm I need to know what I have to do, and I want to know structure. And this guy's okay, just follow me, and he's come sit down, and I sit down, and I'm okay, well, I'm just I'm just doing what he tells me to do. And I didn't want to, obviously everybody wants to see the first baby and child being born, and I was not for it. So
did you look?
No.
You didn't look at all?
I couldn't.
Are you kidding me?
I couldn't. I was so scared. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was so scared. They told us what to expect when Sebastian was born. When he finally came in, that he might be discolored, he might not be breathing, they're gonna have to take him right away. So they prepped us pretty good for the most part in regards to that, but like you can only get so prepared for that. So it's like when he was, you know, doing his thing and like trying to get Sebastian out, it was like probably 20 30 seconds. And like all I could see was him moving like crazy. His eyes were like super
the surgeon?
focused. Yes. And like
I don't have no memory of that.
yeah, Steph was like out.
I was
like,
crying. I was scared.
Yeah, like
I was really scared.
Like you could just tell, like she was just sedated. I mean, she couldn't feel anything. So I remember, I think she told me like take pictures. Like that's what she was worried about, was like take pictures.
I
And
want
I'm
to see
like,
him.
and I'm like, oh my god, because me, I'm terrible when it comes to like capturing the moment. So I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna take a lot of pictures. So I remember I probably took like 50 pictures because I like didn't want to miss it, and like half of them were garbage, but like I still took them. And like when they took Sebastian, like right away they took him like to the right of us, and like I tried to get as many like action shots as possible, but like there was so much going on, and like
he was blue when he came out.
Yes,
he was blue.
He was very blue, but he was moving, and like they like reassured us right away, like that he was gonna be fine, like he's gonna be good. So of course it was reassuring, but like it was scary. Like,
so from what I can remember, and you'll have to fill me in on some of this because I really don't remember. They brought him over to us briefly. We have one picture where he's like right next to me. He's intubated, he's blue. And that was it. Like I saw him and then he was gone. And I don't know, I think you went out and told your parents that like he was here. But it must have been like, so we had Sebastian at I think 9:39 p.m. I don't think I saw him until like 3 or 4 a.m. Like it was,
it was a while.
Put me back together. They were waiting for me to like wake up, and then we went back to my room, and then I feel like I just was sleeping. Like I don't even remember what happened. And then I think at like early in the morning on October 4th, the day after he was born, we finally went down and saw him in the NICU. And at first glance, he was so, like, obviously everyone thinks their kid is cute, but he really was so cute. He just looked like a little old man. He had so much hair. He already had like a natural faux hawk. That always comments on his hair, like, do we style it like that? I promise you, he like came out like that. He's had a faux hawk since like 8 hours of life. So I remember like seeing him and looking at him, and I wanted to hold him so bad, but at that time I think he was still intubated, so we could only kind of, and it was like 2 people at a time, which they do that for safety, but it was like so frustrating. You know, you just want that moment, like your baby's finally here. We just wanted like all of our family to be in there, and it just wasn't an option. I think we were allowed like 2 people, so it was either us together or one of us and then a visitor.
Right.
But I remember taking like a ton of pictures and just looking at him, like, you were so cool. You look just like your dad. I spent all that time being pregnant and fat and hungry for you to come out looking like your dad.
Yeah, it's so funny. Literally everybody, that's the first thing that they said is, oh my god, it's like a replica of me.
Yeah, he really is.
It was funny, but it was like,
what's next?
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect, and that's kind of where everything continues. So we knew, before we even gave birth, we knew that Sebastian obviously had congenital heart disease. We knew that he would have surgery probably early on in life. We didn't know exactly how soon he would need surgery. So it was a big waiting game. It was like, you know, where do we go from here? Is he gonna, you know, come up to our room? Is he gonna stay in the NICU? Obviously, it's our first time being parents. We didn't know what to expect. So the first couple of days, he didn't wake up. really. He rarely, unless you're like changing his diaper, he was just still. He didn't really do anything. Day 2 or 3 probably, they finally extubated him, was when they take the breathing tube out, and they just put him on oxygen. I think he was able to do oxygen for about a day, and then a day or two, and then a day or two later they had put him on the CPAP machine, which is, the little machine right here, and it kind of is a little hat around your head, and that's just a little bit more pressure. It's like one step right before needing to be on a breathing tube. So he was on that for a little while, and we were actually able to hold him. After the breathing tube came out, we were able to hold him. But at the time, with the way that Sebastian's heart was, any kind of extra stimulation made his heart rate spike too much, and he wouldn't be able to breathe properly, breathe appropriately. Like his saturations would drop. It was like this big, all the monitors would go off. It was like this big confusing time, because we wanted to hold him so badly, but we really just had to leave him alone. So after I think about a couple of days on the CPAP machine, they finally decided that it was time to intubate him again. He was not doing well. And we kind of just waited, we just kept waiting to kind of see what was going to happen next. And kind of going back earlier, closer to when he was born, I think it was my birthday. So Sebastian was born October 3rd. My birthday is October 5th. So on my birthday, I remember visiting him, and a genetic counselor came to talk to us. And I feel so bad for her because I was so mean to her. But she just came and she was like, hey, we just wanted to let you know that we kind of suspect a syndrome or a diagnosis for your son. We're not sure. We can run further testing if you'd like to. And she had mentioned the name Cornelia-de-Lange syndrome. We never heard of that. I never heard of it. I didn't know it existed. I was just mean to her. I don't even remember what I said. I was just mad at her. I was just mean. And we kind of like wrote her off, like, okay, thank you for telling us, like, have a great life, goodbye. And then later on, I think I did what anybody does, and I just Googled it, and I started reading symptoms and looking at characteristics, and I was like, okay, well, I can kind of see that, I can kind of see this. So we just kind of took it as it was, but that wasn't our main focus, because Sebastian was still not breathing on his own, so that diagnosis kind of took a back seat.
And also, we did testing for multiple syndromes. Yeah,
when I was pregnant. We did do testing. The only thing, we knew going in that there was a possible suspected syndrome because there was so much amniotic fluid. So we were told that there could be a syndrome. We maybe were thinking Down syndrome, or we didn't know what to expect. So when they said Cornelia-de-Lange syndrome, I was like, what even is that? Like, we didn't even know what that was. And to be honest, we kind of just wrote her off. We didn't want to talk to her. We didn't want to learn about it. We were like, I think we were just upset. I was upset. So that kind of took a back seat. And then throughout the next couple of days, Sebastian regressed really quickly. He went from, like I said, being on oxygen or being intubated to oxygen to CPAP, back to being intubated very quickly. And about the 6th or 7th day, we started to have a conversation about what was next. Intervention, meaning a surgical intervention. It's time, like his saturations are in the 60s and the 70s, and then they're in the 50s, and he's blue and he's not waking up, so we were getting really angry almost, like what are we doing? What are we waiting for? What's the plan? We didn't have any answers. Everybody was just kind of like, it was just, at that time we had gotten discharged, so every single day we were driving to the hospital. Gio had to go back to work. So we didn't really have a plan. But after about 6 or 7 days of him just being blue and not moving, I think we finally sat down with the surgeons and we're like, we need to have a conversation about what's gonna happen next. and they couldn't really give us any answers. So it was all a waiting game, which for me was really frustrating. And I know it was for you, because he's at work and I'm texting him crying all the time, like, well, you know, his oxygen levels are at 65% again. He's been here all day. They're doing all these tests. We have no answers. Just watching him, in a way, like, suffer. So that was probably the first week of his life was definitely the hardest for me. I don't know if you were just in work mode or really how that was for you, if you even kind of have an opinion about that.
Yeah,
We've
like,
never really talked about it.
the feelings that you have are so different. You don't know whether to feel angry or to feel sad or upset, or you can't really describe the feeling that you have, because it's so different. It's literally, it's like a pain that you've never felt before.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want obviously the best always for your child. With Sebastian, he had his scenario was so complex that you had to constantly remind yourself that it wasn't textbook.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like, here's the fix to this is what solves this. Sebastian had a variety of different things going on, and it's like, looking back at it now, it's like, it's so crazy to think that the doctors are amazing, honestly, at what they do. And
I don't know, like, how they kept him alive sometimes.
Exactly.
Because he gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, like,
every week there was something that, like, went wrong, and no one had an answer for it.
We could literally probably, like, write a very long book of everything that happened with Sebastian. And, like, doctors, like, I think at one point they told us, like, he truly is amazing, and they made it seem like we don't know how, but he's still here.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's crazy to think that all the things that he went through, and like, the feelings that you have are, they're like, you can't really describe them.
It's
like,
the weirdest thing.
I had to balance my personal life with work, because it's like, I was supporting for my family, making money because I had no choice, but at the same time I had to be there, because it's like, I can't focus on work. It's just not fair. So I couldn't just be a work man and forget about what was going on with Sebastian. Not saying that I could, but it was very hard for me, like, balancing, like, my emotions and, like, keeping that part out of my work, because I've never been that type of person to spill my emotions. So that helped out a little bit, but it's still
there.
Yeah. It was still there.
I think there was multiple nights in a row that we're just texting, obviously, because he's at work, and we had so many of the same conversations, like, should I leave work and come there now? Because it was to the point that at any given moment, it truly felt like we were gonna lose him. I mean, one of the nurses, with the best intention in her heart, you know, told me, like, at some point we just have to decide if we just want to take him off everything and just hold him and comfort him, you know, like, kind of just let him go. And that felt like, I don't feel like I have the right to make that choice. Like, I didn't, you know, I want to do everything. Of course you want to do everything. So once it got to that point, I think it was like day 9 or day 10 of his life. He was doing really, really bad. At that point, I had been to the hospital every single day. We live 40 minutes away. I'm there all day from, you know, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I come home, I sleep, I wake up, I go back. I mean, every single day. And then Gio, on his off days, he was coming there. It was just like we were living at the hospital. Finally, like day 10, I remember just being so exhausted, emotionally exhausted, that I was just like...
She was like a zombie.
It was like 7 p.m. He was sleeping, he was good, he was fine. We had a nurse that was so good to us. She illegally gave us her phone number, and she was like, just text, like just try to get some rest. I will text you if anything happens, or I'll call you or whatever it was. So I finally went home. I got home before Gio. I was in bed, exhausted, crying. I took a bath. I finally just relaxed and we fell asleep at a good time. And then we got a phone call the next morning. I had actually woke up at about 5:30 and I called the NICU and I'm like, hey, it's Sebastian's mom. I just want to make sure everything's going okay. We should be in there in about like 2 to 3 hours. She's like, yeah, everything's good. And then like an hour and a half later, I did fall back asleep. An hour and a half later, I missed a phone call and I still have the voicemail on my phone to this day. And it was his new nurse. There was a shift change at, like 6:30 in the morning. And she just called me and she was really sweet. And she's like, I just wanted to let you know that the surgeons are thinking about taking Sebastian back for surgery. He's fine right now, but please give us a call. And at the time, I didn't realize that she was being really kind and discreet, because I'm sure she didn't want to leave a voicemail like that, because we left immediately. And when we got to the hospital, we're walking through the NICU doors and we see a group of people rushing a baby into an elevator, and there was a person at the door like, wait one second. And I remember this moment so vaguely. I literally looked over at Giovanni and I said, that's Sebastian. And we didn't know for sure, but once we got up next to them, sure enough, it was our baby. And I will never forget his color. It wasn't even blue. It was like gray. Like the life was gone. We did not even know if he was alive. We didn't know if they were taking to resuscitate. We had no idea what was going on, but we literally walked through the doors and they were rushing him into the elevator. And we met with the surgeon and he basically just explained to us very quickly what he was gonna do. And we had to sign papers and it felt like I was signing my life away. And we were just like, all right, he's gonna go in for his first heart surgery. So they took him back, and I think his first heart surgery was about 7 hours long. And basically what they did was they put a stent in the right ventricle of his heart to try to help the flow of the blood going in from the right side to the left side and into the body. So that was his very first heart surgery. He came out. We went into the pediatric surgical heart unit where he was recovering. We met a whole group of wonderful nurses that we're still friends with to this day. I'm friends with a lot of them. And he was doing really well. That was the first time. He was 11 days old. It was the first time that he opened his eyes and kind of looked around at us.
You gonna wake up? Yeah? Wake up?
And it was like the coolest thing. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I think he has blue eyes, but he didn't. Every baby looks like they have blue eyes when they're first born. But that moment of just like seeing him like, oh my gosh, like he's awake. His eyes are open. He was like looking around, kind of like, it was the sweetest thing. And we had that really, really good moment and that really good day. And then within a matter of 2 days, he started to regress again very, very quickly, a lot quicker than the first time, to the point that we decided to have him baptized in the hospital. We had, the family who could make it, we had them come. We had him baptized. Kind of instructed everybody to say their goodbyes because he just had this first heart surgery and he was doing so good, and then out of nowhere he was really, really bad.